What's up, y'all? I'm Reed the Fishmonger, and today we're gonna fillet up a beautiful cobia. Cobia are absolutely delicious fish. These fish have a steaky texture to them, so they are gonna be firmer than a grouper or a snapper, but they've got a great fat content. So as they cook out, that fat renders out throughout the fish and turns that steaky, denser meat into a nice buttery consistency. Let's check it out. Our cobia is so fresh that he's still got his protective slime on him, so we're gonna give him a little bath. So we've got a fish that is sub 24 hours out of the water going into our display case. Such a privilege. As some of you guys may or may not know, you never want fresh water touching your saltwater fillets. So on your fish, when you gut them, if you gut them in a way that's only making a slight puncture and you're not breaking the inside through the ribs, so as long as you have none of the meat exposed, hosing it down is a totally fine thing. It's not gonna get any of your meat. All right, let's cut this fish up. I absolutely love cobia. It is, in my opinion, one of the best grilling fish in the entire ocean. I'll give you some grilling tips at the end. We're gonna get it cut up for right now. We're gonna pick up the fin, we're gonna puncture right underneath that pectoral fin, slide all the way down, and you can cut forward to go closer to the pelvic fin if you'd like, but I actually like leaving a fatter piece on for my collar portion. So now we're gonna take our knife and we're gonna go behind the head at an angle. You wanna go at an angle because you don't wanna miss out on any of that delicious cobia meat that's behind the head. This fish is not like mahi or African pompano, grouper that's got a whole bunch of meat behind the head. These guys' heads are like steel and it's a hard stop right there. This outline we made is on hard bone. We're gonna take the tip of our knife, we're gonna go right on top of the dorsal and slide down. Now that we've got that opening, we're gonna wiggle our knife in, rest it right on top of the skeleton and pull towards the head. When we make this cut, we wanna let the skeleton guide our knife. If you don't feel the skeleton on your knife, there's a good chance that you're skipping out on meat. We'll take our knife, just a tip, and do a slight incision to go to the top of the spine. This is, pause real quick, this is a different camp. So on most fish, we're trying to go above the ribs. On cobia, I don't try to go above the ribs. This is what I do on cobia. I stick the tip of my knife at the base of the ribs, kind of like I would if I was gonna be trying to go above the ribs, but instead, I'm going to make my knife parallel. I normally have it base pushing, angled like this to go above. Instead, I'm right in, having my knife floating, which I typically don't, and just like that, and all the ribs are gonna be left on my fillet, and you'll see why at the end. Now, because we went to the top of the spine, we can hit the second side with losing very little meat. And there you go. There's our gorgeous cobia fillet. Separate it off, and there we go. No meat lost in that skeleton, even this tall center spine. No meat lost in the second side because we went to the top, allowing us to get a hard angle hitting the second side. We're gonna flip it around, repeat the process. Puncture, slide down, go behind the head at an angle, flip her around. Tip of the knife, right at that opening, and we're gonna slide all the way down. On cobia, the way they lie, the way that center spine keeps the fish off the cutting board, I like to do this. Once I make that initial cut, I flip it over, and I'm going to fillet it like this. And once we get to the point of the ribs, we're gonna use the tip of our knife, go to the top of that spine. Now that we're at the top of that spine, we're gonna use the tip of our knife right at the base of those ribs, and we're gonna cut right through them again. when we're hitting the other side of the center spine on the second side, I'm lifting up on the skeleton or the frame. That way I can make sure my knife is running flush with the skeleton, not losing any of that delicious cobia meat. And there we go. There is our cobia frame. Absolutely no meat lost whatsoever the way we cut that fish. It is a thing of beauty. I mean, look at that. If you took the head off and fed that to the cats, they'd starve to death. Now we cut up this cobia, leaving the rib bones in. Here's why. We're gonna take the tip of our knife, go right underneath those rib bones, and follow those bones down. What I like to do, you got the belly right here, rib bones right there. Once you go down to the end of those rib bones, separate it right there. Gorgeous cobia fillet. And here's our belly with our ribs. Now where that belly skin is, you can follow that line. And there's your cobia ribs. You could take this whole thing, you'd want to trim off. It's easy to pull off. You can even pull off some of this membrane, though it's not necessary. So I'm going to shave off a little bit of this skin. There's our cobia ribs. Now that is some delicious fish. I mean, look at it. It kind of looks like a mini rack of ribs. You've got the membrane, the bones, and throw that whole thing on the grill with the bones in. They're big enough bones. You shouldn't be able to choke on them. Not medical advice, but I don't choke on them. I hope you don't either. But anyways, this is why I cut cobia this way. I love having this strip of rib meat, throwing that on the grill. It's phenomenal. Then cobia belly is insanely good. Here's what we do with cobia belly. It is phenomenal. Now, if I'm grilling the belly, I like to leave the skin on. If I'm doing it in a pan, I like doing its skin off. And for this video, we're gonna skin it. We're gonna start at the opening, get a grip on that skin, have your knife nice and flat, pushing down on your knife while you're going. That way, you lost zero meat, but if your knife was at an angle instead of flat, you see that little bit of, I don't even know what to call it, schmutz from the skin. That, if you had your knife at a harder angle, that would be all throughout that. And look how clean this looks. I mean, also, the fat in cobia belly is insane. This isn't like, bluefin toro. You don't want to be snacking on this raw. If you do, no judgment, but this cooked all the way through, crispy outside, buttery inside. That's where the money is at, in my opinion. Now we're gonna take the membrane off. So membrane is gonna be just like skinning, but it's extra important to have a flat knife. So you wanna make sure that your knife is flat and you don't push down hard on it either. Nice and smooth. It is very easy to cut through that membrane, and look at that. That is just phenomenal, phenomenal food right there, you guys. If you've never eaten cobia belly as a standalone portion, you're really missing out. Like this, I can eat whatever fish I want, whenever I want. I would personally pay big bucks to have this with a perfect cast iron crust sitting in front of me. It is that good. All right, now when it comes to portioning the rest of my cobia, we've got the high loin, we've got the low loin. Right here, this portion of the low loin, basically you've got the last pin bone. The last pin bone forward, the shape is totally different from the rest of it. So I'm gonna cut it at that last pin bone. Look at the quality of this fish, you guys. This is what you can expect from Captain Clay & Son Seafood Market. It is such an honor and a privilege to get to work with fish this fresh from local commercial fishermen that take pride in their fish looking this beautiful. It's not just how fresh your fish is, guys. It is how it's handled on the water to the market, and then how the market handles it once it receives it. Every step of the way, there has to be love and care into it to make your fish look this beautiful. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna follow the pin bone line. Make sure you get as close to those pin bones as possible, not losing out on any of that meat. You essentially wanna scrape the bones as you go down to the skin. If you feel your knife pushing against the bones, you're in the right place. If at any point you don't feel your knife pushing on the bones, you're losing out on top shelf, delicious cobia meat. Now we've got our upper high loin. There's our pin bone line. No meat lost on that. You see how paper thin that is? We can use this for crab traps, soups, stocks, whatever you got going on. All right, now we've got the upper low loin. We separated it from the upper high loin because they're totally different shapes. You leave them connected, you cook them, you got different cook times. We like having consistent cook time. Also, this is like the cream of the crop. Though, this is a still delicious cut of meat. You just might want to cook it differently. If you're going to be cooking it in a saute pan, this is what I like to do. I'm gonna remove the skin. Cobia have nice thick skin, so you can have your knife angled down a little bit instead of having a nice flat knife. No meat lost whatsoever, just a little bit of bloodline, and we're okay with that. Look how beautiful that is. All right. Now when I'm sauteing cobia, I like to do what I call medallions. I take this upper high loin, and I cut medallions like this out of it. Look how freaking amazing that looks. This is just such a beautiful fish, guys. So if I was sauteing in a pan, that's how I would do it. You get a perfect cook on both sides, get your nice crust from your cast iron pan on a wider base, and it is phenomenal. Yes, cobia, they eat a lot of crabs. They've got this mild shellfish flavor to them, absolutely delicious. They follow around big bull sharks and rays. The reason why is they've got big wingspans, and when they're swimming lower to the ocean floor, their wings are turning up the sand. And as the sand moves, the cobias can see the backs of the crabs that reveal themselves that were just underneath the sand, and they eat those. And I know this firsthand from being under the water and watching it happen. My dad has been commercial lobster diving and spearfishing since the 70s, so we've got lots of time underwater. He's got more time underwater than I've got above water alive, and I'm 30 years old. That is just phenomenal looking fish, guys. All right, you knew we weren't done with this, right? Good. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna take off this entire wing. We're gonna puncture the membrane right underneath those gills and slide underneath the throat. And then we're gonna take our scissors, give it a quick little snip right there, and that'll release the whole wing. We've got a floating bone right here. I don't know if you can see the way it moves. It's flush, and now it's protruding. We're gonna slide our knife right underneath that, quick and easy, and we're gonna release our entire cobia wing. Look at that, guys. There's so much meat inside of here. It is ridiculous. And this is such a delicious cut of the cobia. The cobia collar meat, collar right there, pectoral fin right here, pelvic fin right there. just loaded with meat all throughout there. Delicious part of the fish, one of my favorite parts of cobia. We're gonna flip them over and repeat the process. Look at that gaff. What a great gaff. Whoa. There's our other cobia wing. Now, final step would be to take a spoon and scrape off the meat in between, but just not right now. But what I will do is have you guys ever harvested cheeks out of a cobia before? You're literally just pushing around its face behind the eye to see if it's soft. If it's soft, you know there's meat in there. Find where the hard and soft meat, and that's where you're gonna stick the tip of your knife, and you're just going to outline. Continue outlining. You can usually go further underneath that lip, and cobia is no different. We were able to go further underneath that lip. A little delicate. There's our cobia cheek. Not as good looking as a grouper cheek or a tilefish cheek, but we'll see. We're able to leave this side connect a little bit so you can see, like, look at this. It has like this, almost like two parts to it. Super interesting. Anyways, there's our cobia cheeks. All right, you guys, that's how you do the full breakdown of the cobia. We've got our cobia wings, belly, upper low loin, bottom fillet, upper high loin medallions. Whew, good stuff right there. Got the head, cheeks removed, cheeks are right there. We've got our cobia ribs, got our second fillet that we're gonna have to trim up and throw in the case in a minute here. Got our skeleton. You can throw that whole thing on the grill if you want and get a little bit of meat out of there. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Comment below what your favorite cut of the cobia is. If you've never had it before, comment below and tell me which piece you would want to try the most. I'm hoping to be getting shipping going down soon, so that way we can be sending you guys all this fun parts of different pieces of fish. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. Have a killer day.